Hey everybody, Mario here, otherwise known as Y2M on the interwebs, and welcome to another edition of the Reboot Review. This Wednesday, the first batch of issue 5s came out. We are in the 5th month of DC's New 52, and things are still going pretty great. The previous issues have been pretty awesome so far. Have the 5th installments been equally as awesome? Well, yes and no. Let's get to it by starting with Red Lanterns number 5. Okay, so there's pretty much nothing to say about this one. I mean, it was a solid issue, I suppose. We start to get glimpses of the other Red Lanterns and their past lives that they led before they inherited their respective red rings. There's just not enough there to make us care about anyone besides Atrocitus and possibly Bleeze. Oh, and even though it took us 3 issues too long, something that we've been waiting to happen since issue 2 finally happened. You've heard me mention the term fillers issues in a few vlogs of mine. This is pretty much what Red Lanterns number 5 is. It's just a filler issue. It's just something to carry us over until the story picks up, hopefully in the next issue. I'm at least glad that some of the things that happened last issue were addressed, but there just wasn't enough there to justify anyone rushing to the stores to pick this up. Obviously I'm going to stick with it because I'm curious to see what's going to happen now, but this issue really didn't bring anything special to the table. It was a solid comic, but solid can only take you so far. I'm looking for stellar. Next up is Justice League International number 5. This has been a kind of a crazy roller coaster ride that JLI has been taking me. I've said this before in previous vlogs. JLI's storyline, nothing new, but considering that most of the team is pretty much a bunch of B-listers who are actually given a chance to shine, can't really complain. And it warms me well to see Booster Gold step up as leader, especially in the last 3 issues. Although I have to say that the story arc kind of wrapped itself up a little too quickly for my taste. However, the writer Dan Jurgens made up for this by giving us a little cliffhanger as to what issue 6 will bring. I have to say, without spoiling much, I already have a few guesses as to who would best benefit from the JLI's demise, but I'm going to keep quiet until the revelation comes out somewhere down the road. Dan Jurgensen's writing is pretty top-notch. The artwork by Aaron Lopracetti is pretty good. I mean, can't complain. The action shots are pretty awesome, and so are splash pages. I'm not going to say that it was just a solid book, because Red Lanterns was a solid book. I'm going to say that it was an above-average book. I would give it an A-. And also, I've got to remember to actually think of a standardized scoring system somewhere down the road. Pick this one up. Can't hurt. Unlike the next comic, which hurt me a lot. Detective Comics number 5. You've ever seen a bullet train travel at full speed, and they're like top of the line new bullet train, full of hopes and promises and dreams, going to top speed to a destination that will mean success, and then all of a sudden a roadblock comes and makes that bullet train smash into pieces. Yeah, that's kind of what issue 5 is. So basically, Detective Comics just struck out in this issue. And here's how. Strike 1. So, if you read issue 4, you know that Batman was literally and figuratively in a bind. The doll maker seemed to have a leg up on him. A couple of Joker lookalikes were about to rain some pain on Bats, and we were still wondering if Commissioner Gordon was going to be saved. Were you wondering those things as well? Well, you can forget about all those questions, because none of them get answered in this one. It just completely forgets the previous story arc. Like, literally forgets everything, except for, like, the Joker aspect. And it jumps ahead to Batman pursuing an assassin that may or may not have anything to do with what happened in the previous 4 issues. My guess is it doesn't. Strike 2! Look, DC peeps, I'm willing to accept shortened page count because of the $2.99 price rate. I can accept that. I can accept that sometimes you just can't bust out a full issue, so you have to bust out with a backup story. I can accept that as long as the backup story has some sort of relation to the main story. But when you cut an already short issue by half that doesn't answer Jack Diddley in any regard, doesn't bring any action at all, makes Batman kind of look like an idiot or an incompetent fool, well, I kind of have an issue with that. No pun intended. And as for the backstory, I don't really have much of an issue with it. It seems like Tony Daniel just decided, hey, I'm just gonna, for no reason, bust out a story that may or may not have anything to do with Detective Comics now or somewhere down the line. Wasn't bad, but was it relevant? No. Strike three. What's in the cover? Batman and the Penguin. The cover teases you by making it seem like there's going to be an epic showdown or something that's about to go down between the two. Nope! In fact, Penguin doesn't even make an appearance till the last page of the main story. Yep, Yep. What the hell? Like, these past 4 issues were amazing. Yes, the cliffhanger endings didn't exactly pay off all the time, and yes, some of the dialogue in the monologue was a little iffy, but the issues as a whole were amazing. I was hooked. I was at the edge of my seat. They were exciting. And the story arc looked like it was going to have an epic finish, because it deserved one. Instead, Daniels decided, oh, well, we're just going to completely throw away what happened in those 4 issues, you know, and totally jump ahead to a new one without addressing anything, without giving that previous story arc any sort of conclusion, and just teasing you with a villain that doesn't even make an appearance until the last page, and shortening the issue, and freaking giving us a story that may not have anything to do with anything. Good work. Screw you. I'm pissed. Okay. I'm okay now. I'm fine. But seriously, WTF, Detective Comics. WTF. Alright, well, now we get to the best issue of all the ones that I got. And if you're looking for a hero whose story arcs are making him look relevant and cool again, then this looks like a job for Superman. Well, at least Action Comics Superman. Action Comics number 5. Now, I know what you're thinking if you've read Action Comics or if you've heard about it. Y2M, this issue is basically an SOS DW. That's same origin story, different writer. Yes, some things still play out the same way. However, there are very subtle differences that unless you're a hardcore Superman fan, you probably wouldn't catch. But there are some things that do get explained, like why there was a tiny baby-sized rocket, and why there were no other escape pods on Krypton. Who could be in the Phantom Zone? What happened to Krypto? A lot of these things get addressed. I will say it was a little ballsy of Grant Morrison to just stop the actual story arc that was going on in the previous 4 issues and dive into the origin story. But you know what? I've had faith in Grant Morrison for a long time, and he hasn't done me wrong. And he didn't do me wrong with Action Comics number 5. Andy Kubert's art just totally expresses the desperation of Jor-El and Lara as they try to get Kal-El out of there. Everything looks vivid, even the destruction of Krypton. And unlike Detective Comics, the backup story in Action Comics actually more or less ties into the main one. You see, it works out fine. In fact, it was rather endearing. And considering who the characters are in that endearing backup story, it works perfectly for Action Comics. Perfectly. See this Detective Comics crew? This is how you do an issue. Now I will say this, the end of the main story threw me for a loop a little bit. Not the cliffhanger I was expecting. I'm all kinds of confused now. And I'm also kind of a little afraid because I am just thinking about where it could go. And I don't like a lot of the options that I'm thinking about. But as I said before, Grant Morrison hasn't done me wrong yet. And I have complete faith that he will do Superman and Action Comics justice. Now, if only the present day Superman storylines were as awesome. Hint, hint. Alright guys, that about does it for now. Any comments, suggestions, or recommendations about comics that I should be reading? Drop them down on the commentaries plot. Do you have a difference of opinion than I do about these comics? Let me know. We talk. I like to discuss. Also, I have a Twitter account now. I know, I'm like super duper late to the party, but I do. Check me out on Twitter at ThatGuyY2M. That's right, I'm ThatGuyY2M. Alright guys, that about does it for now. I will see you around. Live nerdcore, Y2M out.